Good morning. I'm just observing power struggles, I guess would be the best way to say it. I just witnessed a dad with a coat for his probably preschool aged little child, holding the coat open. I didn't hear the words, but I can only imagine dad was saying, "Put on your coat." And child refuses. That's a pivotal moment in any interaction between parent and child. We live in a time where people believe that their children have the right to refuse something, and we can respect that. Mutually, we can respect that. However, those moments are setting your child's future up for trusting authority. If a parent is asking a child to do something in their best interest, a coat for instance, if it's cold outside, a parent has the right to insist that the child wear the coat. There will be a power struggle, especially if you have a child who has very strong opinions about a lot of things, which, let me just touch on the fact that a child with strong opinions about something, it can go one of two ways. If you give in to those strong opinions always, what you're going to have is a self-entitled adult. I feel like I'm treading on I don't know the saying, but I feel like I'm going to walk into something where I'm offending people, so I'm sorry in advance. When we're in a power struggle with a child, I'm going to give parents advice here. If you state something that you are expecting your child to do, you're going to serve yourself better if you give a thought to it to decide, is this something that I'm going to battle through to the end and not give in to my child, or is it not? Second, is this the right thing to do, or is there room for negotiation, for instance? If a child is running into the street, I could say every single parent would believe that they find that unsafe. And so we have a lot of gray areas in our daily routines. The coat situation is just, by all means, that's probably the largest struggle in many regards, because, you know, a parent might think it's cold and a child doesn't. And obviously, as kids grow up to be teenagers, how many teenagers do you see walking around with coats on? So the big picture is not a big deal. However, what we want to look at is the fact that a parent has authority, and it's absolutely necessary to make sure that your authority is respected. I'm not telling you to yell at your kids and beat them into submission. That's not what I'm telling you. There are calm ways, gentle ways to allow your child to feel safe listening to what you have to say, and trusting when you're telling them to do something that there's a good reason behind it. And we don't have to do that because I said so's either. I mean, we've learned a lot as a society and how to parent. Some of these things that we've learned are beneficial, but what we are walking into is going to be really hard to undo. When you're watching a kid struggle it out with their parent, unless the parent's absolutely abusing the child, which unfortunately that's a reality, stand behind the parent. You know, don't walk around judging parents. But as a parent, it's imperative that if you say something to your child, if you make a request to them, they need to obey you, for lack of a better word. They have to, because what that does, all right, let's look at the big picture here. Kids feel safe with consistency and with trust. If a kid can't trust that their parent knows what's best for them, they're left to trust themselves. And kids don't have the developmental capability to do that. Otherwise, they would be able to raise themselves. Kids have to have they have to have a line that they can push against. They have to have a boundary that they can push against and test. But that boundary cannot move, because what you're doing then is you're breaking the trust that the kid has for their own benefit. I don't want to speak much more because I don't have an education or a doctorate. I've been around kids my whole life. And I'll tell you, the ones who have unwavering and loving parents are the ones who grow up to be amazing adults. And if you happen to have a child with strong opinions, don't lose hope, because there are a lot of battles ahead. Trust me. I have a few strong-willed kids. What I've learned is we can take the scripture that says, don't provoke your children to discouragement. That can mean two things. If you're going to give in and let your kid get their way, you're provoking discouragement because you're failing them. I'm sorry. I know this hurts. I know it hurts. If somebody would have told me that when I was negotiating with one of my kids, because this child was a master negotiator, and I didn't know then the importance, because this child also was an amazing kid with an amazing heart. But then you move into later stages of childhood where they are developmentally asserting their own autonomy, I think is the word. That's normal in teen years. If your child, though, is used to negotiating and ultimately getting their own way, that's a messy time period. It's messy anyway because teenagers have a lot of hormones that they're dealing with, and they always think that something's wrong with them when in reality their body's going through lots of changes. But if you prove yourself to be a trustworthy boundary that knows best, because you have the wisdom as an adult that a kid does not have, so utilize it. But again, do it with love. With love, with love, with love. Okay? So now we'll talk about love. Love is not allowing your kid to make their own choices all the time. We're raising independent kids, and that's not a bad thing. But independence without proper boundaries and consistent, unmoving responses, those things will pay off, and your child will thrive as a result. So that is love. Putting boundaries on your kid and expecting them to respect your authority is loving your kids. And they will grow up with a trust that cannot be matched in any other way. And they will feel loved. Kids without boundaries tend not to feel very loved, and they feel insecure. And sometimes they don't even realize it, and nobody realizes it until it's too late. So at the very least, understand this dynamic. And when your child is young, Just put those habits into place. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Say yes to your kids. Say no to your kids and follow through with your no. Because I can guarantee when you say yes to your child, they expect you to follow through on that yes, because it's a promise that you're making. Let your no be a promise too. And don't waver. Be courageous. If you say no, or if you say, this is what I need you to do right now, do not stop until that is done and until that no is completed. They will fight and scream, especially if they're in the habit of getting their own way. It's rough, so just stick it out and the benefits will come as a result. And some of the favorite language that I've gotten is, I love you too much to ... I love you too much to let you get away with, I don't know, pick whatever example you want, but I love you too much. Or when I'm giving a consequence, I love you, which is why I'm giving you this consequence, because I love you too much to let you, hurt yourself in this way or hurt a friend this way. So I guess what you could do, I know it's hard because we do have kind of blurred boundaries nowadays, and I truly believe that most all parents are trying to do the best they can, and they think that they are loving their kids by giving them their own way. That's not love though, because as we know, I think it's in 1 Corinthians 13, love does not insist on its own way. So if a child needs love, the best way to do that is to provide a boundary that won't move. So think about this. If you're offended, I'm sorry. I can speak of it because I've been there. I've been the child who insists on their own way. I've been the child who was incredibly stubborn. I got my own way more than I should have, but I was that good. I was that good because I was always smiling as I was getting my own way. And I've grown up okay, but this is hindsight, like we learn from mistakes, and I've raised children for 20 years, and I definitely fell into the trap of giving my kid what they wanted, just to avoid a power struggle. So you can be offended, but understand I'm speaking from a place where I know the outcomes, and just trust me. If you have a preschooler who is asserting their independence, God bless them, but they're going to be a hardy teenager, and the things that they choose as teenagers are going to be way harder than the things that they're choosing as a preschooler. So yes, it doesn't seem like a big deal that a kid refuses to put their coat on when they're little. As kids get older, it's harder because some kids do run hot, so to speak. But just lay down the groundwork when they're young, because it's going to pay off when they can respect authority in so many ways. It's not just your parental authority, but it's, teacher-student authority and all the things. I don't know about you, but I think teachers could use a little support here. I think as parents, we can do our job and raise our kids to respect authority. And it doesn't mean that we have to abuse them. Even though sometimes when kids believe that they're not getting treated properly because they're not getting their way, essentially, they're gonna kick and scream, like I said. So just keep your head cool about it. Understand that it's not personal, and understand that we do have the power to train them in a way where they're going to help themselves in the long run. Like if you get your way all the time, it makes you kind of selfish. I'm sorry. Another truth bomb. I'm sorry. But anyways, that's all I'm going to say today. Have a great day, and just think about what I said. Let your yes be yes and your no be no, and stick with it. Have a great day.